Are we rolling swear? What's up, guys? It's your boy McKinley Crain here, and today I'm going to be doing my spoiler-free review of WandaVision Season 1, Episode 7. So I just saw this episode earlier today. It's the 7th episode of the series, obviously. I think that we have like 2 more episodes to go before this show, or this season ends, or just the season. What I meant by that or just the season ends. Anyway, if you didn't already know, this show is a sitcom. It's like a sitcom kind of show. It's not technically a sitcom, but it's like a lot of it is like in a sitcom setting. So it's kind of technically a sitcom. But it's like also like a part action series. Or like it's got some drama in there too. And it's got a lot of mystery in there. So anyway, but today I'm going to be doing my spoiler-free review of the 7th episode. Anyway, so this episode has a for like the sitcom setting, or like the sitcom part of the episode, it's set in the mid 2000s. This show, this episode is clearly heavily referencing Modern Family, and even referencing the show The Office. Well, the U.S. Office. Of course, because it's way more popular. And it's referencing and just spoofing, kind of not exactly spoofing, because it's not it's not a parody or anything, but it's heavily referencing mid 2000s sitcoms and mockumentary sitcoms. Especially mockumentary sitcoms. And this episode once again stars Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch. And her husband, Vision, who's played by Paul Bettany. And in this episode, it doesn't it takes place after the events of the last episode, the previous episode. But it doesn't leave off at the exact moment. It leaves off maybe 24 hours after the events of the ending of the last episode. Before this episode, the previous episode. Yeah, it takes place maybe 24 hours after the events of the ending of the previous episode. And a lot has changed. The setting changed from a late 90s, early 2000s sitcom setting, that took place on Halloween, to like I said, a mid 2000s sitcom setting that just took place on any random day. Anyway, so half of this episode is dedicated to WandaVision, Wanda and her sitcom, and the other half is dedicated to Vision and the Sword Agents because like Wanda and Vision aren't in the same like they're not they don't they don't communicate with each other in this episode, if that makes sense. They're in different places, and doing different things. And we also like I said, we get a lot of this what's going on with the Sword Agents who are trying to figure out what's going on, what exactly is going on. Actually, well, they already know what's going on, but they don't know every single certain detail of what's going on in this show. So they're still trying to figure out every single detail while also trying to solve the problem and stop the bad stuff that's going on and the bad stuff that's going to come. And we specifically get a lot of time with Agent Monica Rambeau, who's played by Teyonah Parris. And fun fact, this isn't even a spoiler. I just didn't realize this at first until the episode before this. But so if you've seen Captain Marvel, do you remember when Carol Danvers goes to reconnect with her friend from the Air Force? I forgot her name. To basically rediscover who she was on Earth, and basically finds out that her friend had a daughter. Well, turns out that Monica Rambeau isn't a new MCU character at all. She was the little girl. She was the little girl from Captain Marvel, who was Carol Danvers' friend's daughter. And I don't understand why I didn't realize that at first, but it all makes sense. It all makes sense now. Anyway, I love this episode. This episode was better than all of the other episodes that have come so far. It's just a great episode. It's a perfect episode of a perfect season of a perfect series, which is WandaVision, of course. And it's got great twists and turns, perfect twists and turns, perfect acting. It's got some perfect humor. It's got a little bit of humor in it. This episode has some humor in it, and that humor is perfect. This episode has some action in it, and that action is perfect. I love the whole. I just love everything about this episode. I love the whole sitcom setting. Once again, it works every time. And I'm not one. I've never really actually just sat down and watched an episode of Modern Family. I mean, I've seen some parts of some episodes of Modern Family, of course, but I've never even seen a whole episode or 10 minutes. I've seen maybe 5 minutes of an episode and a couple of other clips. But I'm familiar with the show, and I've seen a whole bunch of episodes of The Office. I mean, I watched The Office, so yeah, I'm familiar with the kind of setting, and I love it. And I love this episode. This episode is just awesome, and it's just really fun to watch, and we get we get some really big stuff in this episode, some really big reveals. And does this episode answer every question that we have? No, and it's not supposed to, because it's literally only the 7th episode. The series isn't over yet. if it answered every question that we had about what was going on, why would there need to be like another episode, or like why would there need to be like 2 more episodes? Anyway, but yeah, we do get like, you know, a kind of a big reveal, and that reveal is really fun. It's like a really fun reveal, like, you know, just a really smart reveal. The whole, like, you know, twist and turn, all the like twists and turns that, like, you know, come from this episode, you know, are very, like, you know, smart. They're very cleverly written. This episode has clever writing and perfect writing, and you know, the chemistry between all the characters in this episode is perfect, and, you know, just the ending is perfect. Like, from start to finish, this episode is perfect. It's also very nostalgic. Well, I don't know why I'm saying I probably shouldn't even be saying it's that like, you know, the newer episodes are like nostalgic, because literally, like, The Office, like, that didn't end. That's from like the mid 2000s, like early 2000s to, like, you know, mid 2000s, you know what I'm saying? Okay, late 2000s technically, because the 2010s were like a whole separate decade. So, like, yeah, this takes place in, like, yeah, I know I said it took place in the mid 2000s, like the whole sitcom setting in this episode, but, you know, it probably, like, I should probably say that it takes place in, like, you know, the mid 2000s, like 2006 or 2000 yeah, like 2005 to, no, like more like 2006 to 2010, like the mid 2000s to the late 2000s. No, 2010 is in the 2010s, so 2006 to 2009, that's probably when it takes place, and it could take place in the early 2010s, but it's somewhere around there. And, you know, I shouldn't be saying, like I said, I shouldn't be saying that, like, you know, I'm nostalgic for this, for like, you know, for this whole setting, like, cause, you know, it's really not that old. I mean, 2010s weren't that long ago. I mean, late 2000s weren't that long ago. But, you know, they're over, so I guess I can say that I'm, like, nostalgic for this, like, episode. I'm nostalgic for this episode and nostalgic for the setting. Anyway, whether or not it's the feeling I have is, like, nostalgia, I love the setting of this episode and the setting of this sitcom, and I love, like, everything about this episode. And this episode even has a post-credit scene, which is really awesome and just, it's perfect. And, you know, we get like, you know, a little bit of Timmy and Tommy in this episode. Wait, are those? No, it's Billy and Tommy. We get a little bit of Wanda and Vision's kids, twin sons, Billy and Tommy in this episode. And we get a little bit of Evan Peters's, like, you know, Quicksilver or Pietro. And it's all perfect. It's all great. Anyway, I'm gonna give this episode a 100% out of a 100%, which is the equivalent of an A+. I can't wait to see the new episodes, and I can't wait to see what's, like, I can't wait to see the other, like, you know, Marvel stuff that's coming to Disney+. Anyway, like, subscribe, join the notification squad. I will return.